Welcome into the Monday Mirror edition of Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. I'm Maurice Patton, joined by the birthday boy, Wade Neely, as we come to you from the Lee Company studios of the Glass House, Murphy Center, here on the campus of Middle Tennessee State University, where the Blue Raider basketball team just opened the season with a 97-51 victory over Division III Oglethorpe out of Georgia. We'll be visiting in the second hour with men's basketball coach Nick McDevitt to get his thoughts about this game and this team. We will be joined in the next segment by MTSU Athletics Director Chris MASSARO, because this is part of a busy time here on campus or off campus, but with on-campus teams, as the Lady Raiders open their season at 5 o'clock this evening up at Northern Kentucky. And the Blue Raider football team went off and win this past weekend out in West Texas, defeating El Paso. So, yeah, Dr. Chris about a little bit.
I'm not saying an easy job, but he has had an easy sell as of late because continuing projects in terms of construction still going on campus. I mean, there's a lot of positivity and a lot of excitement going around campus as we're fortunate enough to be here this afternoon.
Absolutely. If you could see up over my right shoulder, there is some work going on up on the track level here of Murphy Center that's kind of screened off. There's a lot going on around here.
Yeah, they've been proud thus far, I think, already of the progress they've made, and the best is really kind of yet to come. So, by all accounts, they got a lot going on. Some of that has been probably a little overdue, and they're making up and they're making a big splash. It's always exciting to be back on campus, but especially when you kind of see so much cool stuff going on.
Yeah, they're definitely kind of playing catch up, and it is kind of a shock to the system when you've been gone for a while and then you come back and you see, oh, that's gone, or oh,
yeah,
that's there, or oh, I can't go that way.
Yeah. Like you were supposed to, got off to a blistering start and really never looked back, and finished just shy of putting up triple digits today.
And had like 7,000 screaming elementary age kids in here, something that they did with Murfreesboro City Schools. That was really cool. Unless you were unprepared, and I wasn't.
There was a lot of screaming going on. Yeah,
there was a lot of screaming going on, but it was good.
But it was good because that means that MTSU was taking care of business. I did hear a few loose cheers, for the occasional Oglethorpe 3, and I'm wondering, what the smack talk in the sections was, because there was a few little smatterings of cheers, but by and large, there was a lot to cheer about MTSU all day long. So cool scene. Had a ton of great kids out here celebrating kickoff of the college basketball season today.
Absolutely. We'll be talking some more college basketball as the show progresses. We'll also be talking some Titans. Nice. In the final analysis, nice performance yesterday at Nissan Stadium for the Titans, who picked up their second victory of the season. We'll talk a little bit about that and some other goings on in the National Football League. We'll talk a little college football. And like I said, little hoops, a couple of Major League Baseball developments here over the last 24 hours or so. We'll talk about that and a lot more. So, big show here for the Monday Mirror.
Yeah, great way to kick off the week. Always good, like you said, to be on campus. Got the win. Got a lot to fill in today. I'm pumped. It should be a fun one.
Absolutely. Let's go ahead and jump into it with this weekend's results and today's schedule on the rundown.
This is the rundown.
Hey, before we get into the rundown, I want to remind you that each and every single Monday, our Monday rundown is brought to you by our friends at Zion Christian Academy. ZCA offers a faith-based, Christ-centered education in Murray County, so give them a call today. That number is 931-388-5831. or you can visit them online at zioneagles.org and schedule an appointment today. Once again, that's Zion Christian Academy, prepared for college and equipped for purpose.
High school football results from Friday night. Let's start with Beach defeating Springfield 21-16. Brentwood Academy with a 35-7 win over Montgomery Bell Academy. Centennial took care of Hillsborough 38-9. Ensworth with a 42-7 win over Christian Brothers. Clarksville Academy blanked Mount Juliet Christian 40-0. It was Dixon County 28. Clarksville North 7. Eagleville with a 35-6 win over Cornersville. Middle Tennessee Christian defeated Easdale Harding 20-0. Franklin with a 48-13 win against Overton. Franklin Road Academy defeated Pope John Paul II 56-6. Battleground Academy with a 49-0 win over Good Pasture. It was Columbia Academy 40. Grace Christian of Franklin 7. Henry County with a 24-14 win over Hendersonville. McEwen defeated Houston County 26-0. Portland with a 35-6 win over Hunters Lane. Independence, we've got coverage of this one at mainstreetmurray.com. The Eagles defeating visiting Summit 30-12. Kirkwood with a 46-0 win over West Creek. It was Lawrence County 49, Cheatham County nothing. Lawson defeated Glencliff 59-6. Wayne County 28, Liberty Creek 12. Lincoln County with a 34-14 win over Columbia Central. We've also got coverage of that one at mainstreetmurray.com. McCallie with a 42-28 win over Lipscomb Academy, and Stewart's Creek defeated McGavock 35-0.
Continuing our scores from Friday night, Page was a 42-0 winner over Nolensville. Ravenwood topping Brentwood 21-3 in that big showdown there. Joe Burns put up 47, defeating Red Boiling Springs, who had just 25. Richland all over Moore County, 48-21. Good win for the Richland Raiders there. Sequatchie County defeating Giles County over in East Tennessee. 30-10 was your final score in that showdown Friday night. Siegel picks up a 27-9 win versus Rockvale. It was Spring Hill on top of Franklin County in big fashion. 42-7 was your final. East Nashville blanking Stratford 38-0. Sycamore taking care of Stewart County 51-0. Friendship Christian on top of the Kings Academy 47-14. Father Ryan picks up a 45-14 win over Warren County. Watertown on top of Community 41-0 was your final there. Webb School defeating Providence Christian 50-34. Westmoreland shutting out Trousdale County 42-0. And a tight ball game to close us out. White House Heritage put up 21. Fairview falling by a touchdown. Again, 21-14 was your final favor, White House Heritage.
Speaking of Blue Raiders, the Lindsey Wilson Blue Raiders out of Kentucky defeated Cumberland 20-17. Vanderbilt goes down south and defeats Auburn 17-7. Middle Tennessee State, as we mentioned, went out to UTEP, got a 20-13 win. Austin Peay with a 31-17 victory over North Alabama. That big OVC/Big South matchup over at Nissan on Saturday went UT Martin's way as they defeated Tennessee State 28-21, and Tennessee with a 28-18 victory over Kentucky. In women's basketball action on Friday, Brescia of Kentucky defeated Cumberland 68-58. On Saturday, Cumberland's women also fell to Oakland City 69-48, and Freed Hardeman defeated Fisk 83-52. Men's hoops on Friday, William Carey out of Mississippi defeated Cumberland 96-83, and UT Southern took a 76-59 loss to the University of Pikeville. On Saturday in men's action, Cumberland fell to Faulkner University 89-82. Freed Hardeman with a 90-63 win over Fisk, and UT Southern fell to the University of the Cumberlands 91-83.
More basketball on the docket. On Saturday night, the Grizzlies defeated the 76ers 124-107 was your score there. As we referenced a moment ago, overtime action at Nissan Stadium yesterday. The Titans are victorious, defeating the Patriots 20-17. Also over the weekend, the Preds pick up a nice win, 5-2 at home versus the Colorado Avalanche. Good weekend for the local squads at the college and professional ranks.
Yeah, much needed too. Women's basketball action today, already final. Vanderbilt defeated visiting Lipscomb 102-50. At 4 o'clock this afternoon, Fisk travels across town to Trevecca. Good luck making that trip. It's a 4 o'clock tip over at Trevecca. 5 o'clock, as we mentioned, you can see it on ESPN Plus. Middle Tennessee State's women are at Northern Kentucky. Also at 5, Bethel is at Austin Peay, and Cumberland is at Tennessee State on ESPN Plus. Men's basketball action. Again, Middle Tennessee State defeated Oglethorpe 97-51. At 6 o'clock, Gardner Webb goes to Food City Center at Thompson Bowling Arena,
Mm-hmm.
taking on the Volunteers. Again, that's a 6 o'clock tip. You can see it on ESPN Plus. At 6:30 on ESPN Plus, Maryville College comes to the Curb Center, taking on the host Belmont Bruins. At 7 on ESPN Plus, Vanderbilt faces visiting Maryland Eastern Shore. Also at 7 on ESPN Plus, Lipscomb is at Duquesne. And Fisk is at Tennessee State. There we go. That's what that is. I'm not sure what's going on with Union though.
Yeah, we'll have to get back to you. For the Union diehards out there.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Couple of odds and ends I want to wrap up with here on today's schedule. If you're at Bridgestone Arena tonight, the Kings will be in town as the Preds will welcome LA into Nashville. It'll be a 7 o'clock puck drop. You can watch it on FanDuel Sports South. You can also see the Memphis Grizzlies, who are in Brooklyn tonight to take on the Nets. That gets underway at 7 p.m. Same deal. You can see it on FanDuel. And NFL Monday Night Football action this evening. It'll be the Chiefs playing host to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. 7:15 will be your kickoff time. You can see the game on ABC. That brings us to the end of your Monday schedule. And ladies and gentlemen, that concludes the Monday Rundown.
Your top story is brought to you, as always, by the fine folks at Piggly Wiggly in Neely's Mill in Columbia. Be sure and check out their delicious daily deli lunch options available from 11 a.m. until 6 p.m. Also, their hand-cut meats and everything is cost plus 10% at the cash register. Piggly Wiggly, Neely's Mill, Columbia, bringing you our top story. And coming from the NBA, veteran San Antonio Spurs coach Greg Popovich is out indefinitely after a weekend health issue, according to, among others, Shams of ESPN. Assistant Mitch Johnson will take the reins of the Spurs with Popovich out. Popovich, 75, was not on hand for San Antonio's win over Minnesota on Saturday. And again, he's out indefinitely right now. 29th season,
man,
with the Spurs. It's pretty incredible.
Yeah, he's been doing it for a long time, and obviously he is one of the best to ever do it. And so hopefully nothing too scary. With a guy like Pop, though, you always got to be careful because presumably he ain't missing unless he absolutely has to miss.
So it's kind of concerning from that standpoint. If there was any way he could be there, he would. So the fact that he's not kind of puts you on alert a little bit. Again, San Antonio won 113-103 over Minnesota on Saturday with Mitch Johnson at the helm. Popovich, again, 29 seasons, 1,391 career victories, 170 postseason victories, 5-time NBA champion. He leads the NBA in career victories and in postseason wins.
Yeah, this it's kind of a scary deal. You hope Pop gets back to normal. He had already been, a little ornery already, not extra ornery like his usual self, but he'd been a little ornery this year, been outspoken about a lot of issues off the court already, as a lot of big things in the news here recently. But Pop, hopefully a safe and speedy recovery. Like I said, that's the thing that is a little concerning to me. The fact that, he probably doesn't, he's the guy, he doesn't go to the doctor willingly. I'm willing to bet, you got to drag him, especially got to drag him away from the facility. So hopefully everything is okay. Hopefully they get him on the mend because we need Pop back out there for the Spurs.
Oh, without question, man. I mean, he's just one of the good guys in, not just in the NBA, but in pro sports, man. And he's a different dude, but hopefully, a speedy recovery for him for sure. So we'll be keeping an eye on that. Let's go ahead and go to a break here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia, as we come to you from the Lee Company studios of the Glass House, historic Murphy Center, as it reads above all the vomitories onto the floor. So when we return, we should be joined by Chris MASSARO, athletics director here at Middle Tennessee State, and looking forward to that conversation. So come on back after the break. Whether you're an athlete or a weekend warrior, when it comes to your performance, don't settle for anything less than excellence. We're proud to announce that Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint Clinic is now Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia, where we are redefining sports medicine and orthopedics. Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance's team of expert sports medicine physicians understands the unique demands of your body. TOA Columbia specializes in personalized orthopedic care, offering state-of-the-art treatments for everything from sports injuries to joint replacements. Learn more at toacolumbia.com.
Step into the Lionel retail store at Opry Mills, Nashville, and you'll be captivated by all the magic of the 123-year history of Lionel trains. Whether you're already a train enthusiast or just getting started, Lionel will energize your love for trains. NASCAR fan? Come check out your local Lionel station to learn all there is to know about model trains and die-cast NASCAR collectibles. Visit nashville.lionel.com or call 615-455-9399.
So Busy Bee is a very close-knit family. We fight just like every family does. We have arguments, but we always come out with a solution to the problems. We don't just fight about what we want, we fight about what customers need. We want to make sure that every customer we go to is more than satisfied. And that doesn't just start whenever we show up at their door, that starts when we show up every day at work. We want to make sure that we are serving our customers to the best of our ability.
Custom Stone Handler supplies over 600 distributors and suppliers with quality stone products. Along with River Stone, we produce and distribute over 100 building, landscape, and other bulk products. Our goal is to provide quality products, service, and partnerships to ensure our customers' success. We firmly believe that the measure of any person or company is how they treat other people and customers. Give them a call at 931-490-4990 or visit CustomStonehandlers.com.
With Lee Company technology, the best handymen are hands-off. Lee Company techs have been using visual findings and other smart technology tools for years to add transparency and virtually take customers along. You see what we see, whether we're in a crawl space or on a roof. With Lee Company, technology helps us help you, no matter what's happening in the world or at your house.
He shoots, and he scores!
There we go. Welcome back.
Bada bing.
Welcome back to the Monday Mirror edition of Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. I'm Maurice Patton. That's Wade Neely, handling both co-hosting and producer duties on site. Mark Rogers back at the house, but we kind of had to do some camera adjusting to accommodate our guest.
Need a much wider lens, don't you?
Well, we've already got the wide lens for me, but Middle Tennessee State Athletics Director Chris MASSARO joining us here in the Lee Company studios that are the Murphy Center. And it's kind of ironic that we're here today in the glass house because high school basketball practice officially begins today across Tennessee, and all of your Division I boys and girls teams across Tennessee are trying to get right here at the end of their season. So it's pretty cool being here.
Yeah, and we love hosting the TSSAA. It's just great to be everybody's goal at the end of the year.
You know, it's like, you know, college baseball teams talk about Omaha. It's just one word.
Yeah.
You know, high school basketball teams talk about the glass house. And I would think it's kind of cool to have a facility that is talked about that way.
Yeah, statewide, you know, and
Everybody wants to get to the
everybody
glass
wants
house.
to be here. It's got its own identity, the glass house. It's one of the most iconic buildings in the entire state of Tennessee. So yeah, it means so much to us as a program to have a remarkable building and a remarkable history. And we've hosted the TSSAA, I think, for close to 50 years. And I mean, it's an incredible feeling to know that you're the apex of a lot of dreams. And that's ultimately what we do in athletics is we make dreams. We try to make dreams come true.
And Chris, we mentioned it the last couple of times we've caught up with you, but I feel like we're going to have to keep bringing it up. But you can't step on campus and not be excited about all the construction. You know, Coach Derek Mason said his football team was under construction a couple of months ago, but literally just the physical construction that's going on campus, I imagine it's got to be exciting. And for you, I imagine no 2 days are exactly the same at this point because literally things are getting built right in front of your very eyes.
Yeah, it's been a great year for us for a lot of different projects. We finished the outdoor tennis facility, $8 million facility last February. We put in 2 new video boards here in the Murphy Center. This December, we'll put in a new sound system into the Murphy Center. We've got a new turf scheduled to go into the football stadium next year. And then the big one that most people talk about and our biggest project we've ever undertaken under my leadership is the Student Athletic Performance Center. And that's a $86 million or $68 million, 86,000 square foot building, which we'll cut the ribbon next July on that. And we'll be moved in by training camp for football. And the first floor is going to feature the Kevin Byard Strength and Conditioning Room, which is for all student athletes, a training room for all student athletes, a nutrition center for student athletes. We're hoping to put in like a red light therapy room for all student athletes, then the locker room for football and a player's lounge. And the second floor will be all football offices and team meeting rooms and team auditorium. And then third floor will be a club level, a place where we can have occasional meals, the place that we might be able to rent out for events and community things through the course of the year. So it's going to be a really game-changing facility for us. And what it does, too, is it allows football to move out of the Murphy Center, and so it'll allow us to expand our basketball operations as well. So that building is going to be a really important tool to really help our 3 primary revenue sports. So it's going to be a really game-changing, basically game-changing building that's gonna help us in multiple ways. And in today's environment, you also need to be developing your players. We need to have the latest and greatest in all these things, and to be able to take a talented kid and add to that talent and add the pounds to him, whether it's through nutrition or weight room or recovery, all those kind of things. It's going to make us a better program.
As I am curious, you know, with the date coming up so soon, how many blueprints or rewrites before you kind of maybe got it exactly the way that you guys want it? Because what you just described is so multifaceted and there's so many layers and components to it.
Or do you have it exactly?
Even that, yeah.
You know, I think we do, you know, and one of the concerns is, you know, we had a change of coaching staffs. And so that has a whole different, could be a whole different philosophy. And I think we did a really good job in the planning process with our design teams. HOK, who's a primary sports architect, and GMC here locally out of Nashville have done a lot of these kind of buildings. So we were able to kind of take what we put into their buildings. So when Derek Mason and his crew got here, there was just some minor adjustments and those kind of things to the building that right now it's like furniture, and we're ordering furniture, and people are looking at color palettes, and my wife would laugh at me if she thought I had anything to do with any one of those two things. So I do hold a veto ball, but other people with significant better taste are picking out that kind of thing for us. But it has been to answer your question, it's been about a 8 to 10 year ordeal from concept and then figuring out where the best place would be to have it, you know, in the location. Then obviously once you do that, then you have to worry about the financing, how you're going to pay for the thing. And so it's been a long road, and so we can't wait to cut that ribbon in July.
You know, when you talk about a game-changing facility such as that, Chris, do you go around, did some people go around and look at other similar type facilities on other campuses, that kind of thing? I mean, did you steal a little here and there and that kind of thing?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I'm a little bit of a nerd when it comes to college campuses. I can't go by a college campus without going through it, and particularly their athletic facilities. So how do they do their graphics? How do they lay their buildings out? It's just a fascination to me. So yeah, we visited a bunch of them. And
anybody in particular?
Clemson was one. Auburn.
Clemson.
Yeah, ours.
You spent how long in South Carolina?
I know. Please don't let my Gamecock friends know that. But we did look at Clemson, and Graham Neff, who's the AD there, spent 3 years as a deputy AD here, and so he and I are very tight, and they just kind of completed theirs when we were in the drawing stage. You know, Coach Stock visited quite a few of them. I visited a lot of them. Lee DeLeon's visited a lot. You know, so we were able to take a lot of our common knowledge, and then also talking to people. You know, when you run into people at conferences and clinics, that's one of the things you ask. Is that I usually try to ask a couple questions because the best time to do a coaching search is when you're not in a coaching search. So people that have been through it say, like, how'd you do it? Who really lit your fire? Typically, that you have somebody that kind of keeps you awake at night because you have 2 or 3 choices and they're all good choices at the end. So you kind of want to know, like, who was their discard? Who did they not hire? And then you kind of add that to your list. Same way with facilities is the best time to ask is when you're not building something. You know, what would you do differently? What problems did you encounter? If you had to do it all over again, what are 3 things that you would do differently? And so those are all questions to ask. And the best time to do it is really over a cocktail at a, you know, in a hospitality room where everybody's a little bit more relaxed, a little bit more open, and you can get a lot of information from people in those kind of situations.
They say that what is it? A smart man learns from his mistakes. A wise man learns from the mistakes of others. So it kind of sounds like that's kind of where you're at. Chris MASSARO, MTSU Athletics Director, joining us here on Main Street Sports today. Been a good weekend so far.
It has.
Between El Paso and here, and now kind of go for the sweep at 5 o'clock this evening up at Northern Kentucky.
Yeah, and our women's basketball team has their lid lifter today at Northern Kentucky, and just coming off an incredible year that we had last year and winning, you know, beating Louisville in the NCAA tournament and pushing LSU, you know, really hard into the fourth quarter down there at a lively atmosphere in Baton Rouge.
I like that.
You know, and so we've got a lot of players back, a lot of expectations. So I'm really eager to see how this team will fold together, you know, and one of the concerns is we lost a lot of leadership off that team with Savannah Wheeler and Courtney Whitson. And so who's going to step up into those kind of roles. But talent-wise, we're really well set. Coaching-wise, it's impeccable. You know that Coach Insel will build this team and have them peaking in March like he always does. And so I'm really eager to see us and see what our beginning point is today. And I'm super stoked about this. And we feel like we've got a team that can get to the Sweet 16 and beyond. And so today would be a great way to start it off with a resounding road win.
Kind of keeping that rolling, and I guess just walking just a little further backwards. Talk to us about the idea of getting the entire county out here and supporting your program, because it was a very cool way. And a lot of schools try and execute it, but it seems like it was well done today. And then obviously the team did their part by such a big win to open it up.
They do, and they love it. The players love it because the kids, this is the loudest the arena will be all year. You know, and we had, I think, 2,500 to 3,000 Rutherford County grade schoolers in here, and man, you just put the prompt on the board, get loud, and they know how to read.
Didn't take much, right?
They do know how to read around here, and that is good, you know, and so it's exciting. And what you want to do is just show these kids that, hey, it's possible, you know, and to come visit a college campus, be comfortable on a college campus, because 12 years from now, this might be you walking these halls and going to class and being here. And so if we can plant those seeds, that's the higher goal, is just to be good role models and to spark dreams. Make that world a little bit bigger, you know, and so I think we did that today, and our players really engaged with them, and it was really neat to see after the game that just kind of the affection back and forth. So it accomplishes a lot for us. And, you know, we ask a lot out of our community, and this is one of the ways we give back to the community as well.
To that point, I thought it was really cool, especially as some of the post-game interviews are winding down on court. The guys are waving at the kids, you know, like it was, you know, the last game of the conference tournament. You know, they were kind of, you know, getting the send-off. And these are guys that are playing their very first ever game here in this building. You know, like you said, won't be as loud. Hopefully, you know, maybe we get to that level, but it won't be as loud as and crazy as it was today. So, but it was cool seeing the guys embrace that role as well. To me.
This game, and we do one with our women as well. It's just so important for us on both sides. I think we might get as much out of it, our players do, as maybe sparking some of the dreams of the youngsters that were in here as well. So it's a mutually beneficial game, and I thank the Rutherford County schools, because it takes a lot of effort on their part to move that many kids here and to come in
and back.
Yeah, and back. Yeah, and that's the hard part, and hopefully those kids will be buzzing a little bit tomorrow, and hopefully they're talking to their friends about how cool it was right now, and so, like I said, if we can spark those kind of dreams, then it's a big success. And our women have one in about 2-3 weeks with the city schools, so we try to do one with the county schools and one with the city schools. So try to give as many kids as exposure as we can into the Murphy Center.
That's awesome. Chris MASSARO, AD here at Middle Tennessee State, joining us here on Main Street Sports today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. Saturday, again, you go out to Texas El Paso, pick up a 20-13 victory, get to 3-6 overall. Still in bowl contention. Final 3 games: Liberty, New Mexico State, Florida International. You know, Liberty can be beaten. Somebody did it a couple of weeks ago. But, you know, relative to what the expectations were in year 1 of the Derek Mason era, where do you feel like Blue Raider football is right now?
Well, and, you know, it was a great win for us to put us in 3 wins. And, you know, last year we won 4 games. So we're 1 win, you know, from achieving what we did last year, which isn't a crowning achievement. But I think that as we look at this team and they've improved every month, they've gotten better. September and October, and then we probably played our best game, particularly defensively at UTEP. We had 3 turnovers, and we kind of screwed up on the goal line a little bit down at UTEP. So maybe that game, in my view, we could have stretched it out a little bit more than we did, but we got the W. And so we've got a lot to play for our last 3 games, as you mentioned, Maurice. And if this team could somehow get its way into a bowl game, that would be an unbelievably good start for Coach Mason and his program. If we don't, I still think what we've seen this year is we've seen a lot of the foundation being laid, and that's what we want. And regardless whether we make a bowl game or not, this winter is a big recruiting. It's a big for our for the Blue Raiders. I mean, we've got to get more players in here. We've got to get better on both lines of the scrimmage, for us to really compete for CUSA championships. I don't think we're that far away, but we've got to really hit on some guys, whether it's transfer portal, whether it's junior college, whether it's high schools. It'll be a combination of all 3, but that's a chance for us to upgrade our overall talent on our football team. And Coach now has seen the league. He knows what it takes to be in the league, win in the league. He knows our players and their strengths and weaknesses. So I think he'll be able to recruit much better, more eyes wide open, knowing more what to expect, after he's been through the drill for a year.
Real quick then, while we're still talking football, give me your best sales pitch then for Saturday to get a good crowd out here because, like Mo had mentioned, Liberty has dropped a couple, but this is still a big rivalry game that hopefully we get a good crowd and support these guys.
Yeah, and we only have 2 left. We wait all year for football season, and we only have 6 home games, and we only have 2 left. So come on out, and it's supposed to be a nice day. It's our Salute to Vets Day, which is one of the longest, most endearing traditions we have. It's been about a 50-year for that event as well. We're going to have a guy that we're honoring, 99 years old at halftime, that was part of the D-Day invasion.
Wow.
And so come wrap yourself, show a little patriotism, show a little support for the Blue Raiders, see a really good football game. Because we're gonna take it to Liberty. We're gonna be physical. We're gonna, if they might beat us, but they're gonna have to earn it, and go off on our shield, so to speak. So it's gonna be a rough, tough game, and you're gonna see our team just battle, and we think we can win this thing. And come be a part of that. It's no better way to spend a fall Saturday than at a college football game.
Love it.
And there it is. The sales pitch.
Yeah, I'm sold.
Absolutely.
Come on.
Christmas
at noon, right?
It is at noon, and so the attractive thing about that for a lot of fans is gives a chance to watch your Blu-ray and go home and watch some of the national games that are being played later that day. So
and the sun will still be out, even if you start.
It'll be out, and it'll be a nice day. Yeah. We've had some rough weather days, so we've had 4 hours of lightning delays on our games this year. So hopefully Mother Nature will wink at us this Saturday.
Sounds like a winner. Chris MASSARO, athletics director here at Middle Tennessee State, joining us on Main Street Sports today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. Chris, thank you so much for taking some time.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate y'all being here and what you do for the Blue Raiders.
Well, thank you. We appreciate it. When we return to the Lee Company studios, we will be talking a little professional football. Stay tuned after the break.
Do you want to be a bad man? Yes, you do. Do you want to taste sweet salvation underneath the summer moon? Do you need another hand now? Yes, you do. Go see Miss Josie down on Columbus Avenue. All right, Columbus Avenue.
At Delta Dental of Tennessee, we know our success begins and ends with providing superior quality service, and that includes serving those who need it most. This year, we're celebrating 25 years of giving back to the community we call home. Delta Dental, along with our Smile 180 Foundation, supports Tennessee's dental colleges and oral health education, children's hospitals, free and reduced cost dental clinics, and other like-minded charities. Here's to the next 25 plus years of ensuring healthy smiles.
So Busy Bee is a very close-knit family. We fight just like every family does. We have arguments, but we always come out with a solution to the problems. We don't just fight about what we want, we fight about what customers need. We want to make sure that every customer we go to is more than satisfied. And that doesn't just start whenever we show up at their door, that starts when we show up every day at work. We want to make sure that we are serving our customers to the best of our ability.
With Lee Company technology, the best handymen are hands-off. Lee Company techs have been using visual findings and other smart technology tools for years to add transparency and virtually take customers along. You see what we see, whether we're in a crawl space or on a roof. With Lee Company, technology helps us help you, no matter what's happening in the world or at your house.
Whether you're an athlete or a weekend warrior, when it comes to your performance, don't settle for anything less than excellence. We're proud to announce that Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint Clinic is now Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia, where we are redefining sports medicine and orthopedics. Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance's team of expert sports medicine physicians understands the unique demands of your body. TOA Columbia specializes in personalized orthopedic care, offering state-of-the-art treatments for everything from sports injuries to joint replacements. Learn more at toacolumbia.com. Birthday boy.
Celebrating in style, man. You know, hanging out on campus, doing the show on campus. Good vibe.
I don't think all season. They got 3 yesterday.
Yeah, it was good effort for the Titans on defense, and the Wi-Fi monster or the Ethernet monster has gotten us here at MTSU.
Nice.
We didn't make Chris mad, so I don't think he is to blame.
You don't think he turned it
I don't
off?
think he's spliced the cable, but so for that we do apologize. But yeah, to your point, the defense was playing well. Was it the first time they've had multiple turnovers? At least this season. I mean, you got to go back. They had 3 total interceptions last year. So this is a team that doesn't really get a lot of takeaways on the defensive side of the ball. So that alone gave them a much better chance to win. And to our original point, we could have done without overtime, but a win is a win is a win. And that was a much needed. And we saw the emotion, from Callahan after the game. I mean, he's breaking down because I think more than anybody, he's wanted this team to be able to pull off the win by any means necessary, and was able to do that, giving everybody that first home victory.
Yeah, I think it's really kind of worn on him, the lack of success that this team has enjoyed to this point, and not
had been on the offensive line and their issues. And then, at some point, whether you're a first-year coach or not, they start coming for the coach. And, we'll talk about some more coaching turn.
they just went like clockwork.
Yeah, and that is now, to me, the big issue going forward is the first half in every game looks borderline acceptable in almost every game. The second half is where the offensive woes really kind of start to appear, and I don't necessarily know how you fix that. I don't know if necessarily there is a immediate fix, but they got just enough in the second half yesterday to kind of push them across the finish line. So it was a good win for them. On the other side, we've talked on this show a couple times about the Patriots and the coaching staff and everything that they got going on. So they were hungry for the win too. May made a crazy play to keep the game alive and force overtime. And at the end, though, it was a good win for the Tennessee Titans.
It was a good win in the end, and I think as much as we are on Tankathon alert, it's tough to convince 53 guys that it's their livelihood to go out there and lose.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I mean, and whether these guys are playing for at the end of the day, they're playing for themselves. They're obviously playing as a team as well, but they're playing for themselves, whether that means, potentially trade prospects for this year, whether that means a contract coming up, or whether that means, staying up and trying to latch on to an NFL roster full time. So that's why it's always so weird and so difficult. And, that's why you see it, right? Even when we see teams over the years, you can't really kind of fully tank, because at the end of the day, we're talking about human beings and competitors of the highest nature. And you got a hard time rewiring some of these guys' brains to say, go out and don't win this game. And so we'll see what happens as far as the rest of the year goes. But for now, for yesterday, it was a good win, and was good to see the home crowd celebrate. There were a lot of Patriots fans, and Dante Hightower was in the house as one of the linebacker coaches for the Pats. There was a lot of Hightower jerseys in the crowd that I saw yesterday. Of course, there were
most of those out of Lewisburg.
I'm wondering if the town of Lewisburg packed up. I did run into our boy Brad Willis. He had a little extra, pep in his step. They beat Pearl Cone Thursday, so then everybody in Lewisburg is just riding high, right?
In overtime.
Yeah. So it just rolls right into another overtime situation for that town. So the turnout was a little more than you might expect for New England, as bad as they have been. But at the end of the day, it was the home team that goes home happy, which was nice to see.
There we go. Tough topic for a lot of Titan fans, as Derrick Henry with another stellar performance this past weekend as Baltimore throttled Denver 41-10. Henry, 23 carries, 106 yards, a pair of touchdowns, goes over 1,000 yards for the year in their 9th game?
Yeah, and he has been the perfect fit for Baltimore, and Baltimore has been the perfect fit for him. That is a match made in heaven. And it's one of those situations where if you're the other 31 teams, you're saying, why did we not sign this guy? And you also wonder, what was everybody thinking when no one else really extended as big of an offer as Baltimore did. That's how he ends up there. But they beat a really good Denver defense. Denver, still sneaky good, still got playoff aspirations, could maybe lurk into that picture deep into the season. So for the fact that them to come out and pretty much dominate from start to finish was impressive to see. The only Denver touchdown was Bo Nix catching a touchdown. So, Baltimore really kind of bottled them up defensively, which Denver's, not a world beater on the offensive end. But that was a good get-right game for Baltimore if they had that kind of head-scratching loss the week before. So, Henry continuing to do what Henry does. And, I don't know that we're going to maybe flirt with 2,000, but the way this guy's going, who knows, right?
I'm not going to say he can't.
If it feels like the way that they're going right now, we would be by Baltimore resting him to get him fresh for the playoffs because, everything else he has been dominant at times.
I don't know who's Batman and who's Robin in this equation, but 106 rushing yards, 2 touchdowns for Henry. Lamar Jackson, 16 of 19 for 280 and 3 touchdowns. Finishes with a perfect quarterback rating.
Yeah, and you're looking at Lamar being MVP, and you're looking at Henry being your offensive player of the year in the same backfield, which is crazy to think about. Because outside of those two, we talked about it on the show last week, they have a couple of decent weapons. Flowers especially has been a nice piece for them. They don't got any real household names.
No.
And so they are really shouldering the load, and you're seeing why those two guys are playing so well together. And I think if they weren't paired together, I don't know that Henry has his production anywhere else this year.
Mm-mm.
And I think Jackson probably struggles with Dobbins leaving, of course. And then now if Henry were not there, I think they would really kind of be struggling to find some options in the run game. So it is the perfect match in my mind.
Yeah, it's the perfect match for them.
100%.
For opposing defenses, nightmarish. We talked about the situation in Indianapolis last week with Anthony Richardson being sat down, Joe Flacco getting elevated to QB1, and I don't think it worked the way they intended it to work as Minnesota defeated the Colts 21-13 yesterday with Joe Flacco under center.
Yeah, and I did. I couldn't help myself. I did cover my eyes and watch just a little bit of this game. But Indianapolis blew this game. They had this game won. They had Darnold seeing ghosts again. Darnold had officially turned into a pumpkin, and then out of nowhere, he resurrects himself, and he ends up with 3 touchdown passes, including that massive one on the 2-minute drive where you think they're just running the clock out, and instead they get crafty and they throw the ball. So Darnold finishes with a solid game. Flacco was not what we had seen in previous games. And they also had some other, red zone issues earlier in the game that led to some sketchy situations. Indy is not built to just blow anybody out or put up big numbers.
Mm-hmm.
So this one has got a sting for them, considering that if Flacco had played just like we had seen him the previous couple weeks, they probably win that game. But instead, that is a big win for the Vikings, who kind of desperately needed to get right.
Yeah, big win for the Vikings. And again, the Colts don't get a game to develop their young quarterback, and they lose.
Yeah, that's the worst of those situations. Right?
Absolutely. Mark, we can't hear Mark today for whatever reason. So, but he can hear us. There is a video clip that I'm sure you saw it yesterday. Saquon's backward hurdle.
The butt hurdle.
The butt hurdle.
The butt hurdle heard around the world.
Yeah. In a game that was flexed out of the Sunday night game, the Eagles and the Jaguars, well, at least one play was worth watching as Saquon goes around the left side and gets spun around and jumps backward over a Jacksonville defender for extra yardage. Like I said, I don't know if Mark's able to pull it up or not, but if he's not, it's okay. We can get by without it. But
well, the thing is, number one, do not try this at home.
I will tell you that in the high school level, it's illegal for one thing.
Thank goodness, because that was my immediate concern is we're going to see people trying to attempt this move, and no one, no one except for Saquon Barkley should probably be attempting this move because
He's got it pulled up. I wonder if we're having issues. Go ahead with it.
Time. Now locates Barkley out of the backfield. Barkley slips 2 tackles and picks up the first down, jumping up in the air to the 30. A gain of 14 for Barkley with
The
some
Eagles with
nifty
the
moves along the way.
Was that not the best 14-yard gain you've seen all season?
I like that. That's throwing it back on a Sunday. Yep.
Yeah, it was, and they kind of continued to right the ship. They had some weird issues in that game. The little bit I did get to see, because they went for 2 a couple times. The analytics nerds are going to be excited about the way that played out, but they didn't get it done. The tush push or the brotherly shove did not really go their way on a couple of different occasions, and that is a win. And they scored this blew my mind, their first points in the first quarter all season on Barkley's first touchdown that he had, and then he scores another one right before halftime. But that was a weird game, because at the end of all of it, it was a dominant win, but they kind of let Jacksonville hang around. But the Eagles still continue to chase. I think just half a game still back now of Washington. So Philly, at least for now, survives and advances to move on to another week.
And who'd have ever expected anybody to be chasing Washington?
Man, and Philly, for all their problems, as long as you can keep winning games, I think those issues got to get resolved, or we're not going to be talking about them, as a legit Super Bowl contender.
Mm-hmm.
But they do have some issues. Obviously, the issues weren't big enough that they still were able to get by Jacksonville at the end of the day. And classic Jacksonville, they're the team that's going to go in as the butt hurdle team. Just kind of like the Jets with the butt fumble. They're destined to be together in that regard. So cool to see Saquon do his thing, and it was a good win for Philly in that regard to maintain their pace in the East.
Meanwhile, you cannot lose to Carolina and keep your job, as Dennis Allen learned earlier today. The Saints fell to Carolina yesterday, 23-22, and it was New Orleans' 7th straight loss after that 2-0 start that we talked about. And up with that, Gail Benson and the Saints front office will not put Dennis Allen is now former Saints coach Dennis Allen.
Yeah, we had wondered, the Jets fired Saleh a couple weeks ago, and kind of a bit of a head scratcher, but this seemed like the one that if there was going to be a midseason coaching change, and on one hand, it's frustrating if you're a Saints fan, I guess, but on the other hand, it's relieving. You get that 2-0 start. Everybody's predicting that you're going to be bad. And then despite having a murderer's row to kind of start the season, you lo and behold start 2-0 just to get everybody excited, only to drop 7 straight, like you mentioned. And so Dennis Allen is on the milk carton. He's missing now in New Orleans. And so now the question becomes, you're not turning that situation around, I don't think. That's a team that needed that 2-0 start to kind of maybe get them kickstarted and stagger into, a serviceable record. But once things go bad, the way that roster is kind of constructed and the injuries, and then Olave gets carted off yesterday. It is a grim situation. If you're a Saints fan, my heart goes out to you out there.
It really is.
Brings a smile to you in Falcons Nation, I'm sure, but it's a grim situation for all the Saints fans out there.
It's a grim situation for Dennis Allen, who's been down this road before. This ain't his first rodeo. He was fired mid-season by the Oakland Raiders in 2014. His quarterback in 2014?
Let me guess.
Derek Carr.
So
if Dennis Allen gets another job, don't look for Derek Carr to be his quarterback.
No, yeah. I don't care who's out there. If you're Dennis Allen, you get another gig, you cannot sign this guy.
No,
that's not a good situation. And that's after Carr.
Kind of hazardous to his coaching health.
Yeah. It's not a good pairing between them two. And this is after Carr said earlier in the week, that he was ready to kind of get the team back and go unleashed, and said they lose to the Panthers. So
not so much.
No.
Yeah. Hour number 1 of the Monday Mirror here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia, is in the books. When we return to the Lee Company studio here at Murphy Center, after this break, we'll talk a little more college football. Stay tuned after the break.
Nashville's Nutcracker returns to TPAC this December, presented by Nashville Ballet. This holiday season, audiences will journey with Clara and the Nutcracker Prince through Nashville's history and the land of sweets. Tickets at NashvilleBallet.com.
Hi, I'm Dr. Vilay Saisuka, CEO and founder of Premier Foot and Ankle Centers of Tennessee here in Murfreesboro. We offer foot and ankle care from ingrown toenails to diabetic foot wounds. We also fix ankle fractures and things like that.
Call us today to schedule an appointment. We look forward to seeing you.
Because here at Premier Foot and Ankle, we believe that
the journey begins with happy feet.
Whether you're an athlete or a weekend warrior, when it comes to your performance, don't settle for anything less than excellence. We're proud to announce that Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint Clinic is now Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia, where we are redefining sports medicine and orthopedics. Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance's team of expert sports medicine physicians understands the unique demands of your body. TOA Columbia specializes in personalized orthopedic care, offering state-of-the-art treatments for everything from sports injuries to joint replacements. Learn more at toacolumbia.com. Jones & Lang Sporting Goods here in Columbia has been outfitting teams, officials, and anybody else from T-ball to college for 50 plus years. Be sure and check them out at 931-388-8060 or online at jonesandlang.com. Jones & Lang Sporting Goods, the look of a winner.
Zion Christian Academy, zioneagles.org or 931-388-5731. You can schedule your appointment. Go tour their campus. It is beautiful over there, and you're definitely going to want to see it. Again, it's zioneagles.org. Give them a call, 931-388-5731, and schedule your tour today.
With Lee Company technology, the best handymen are hands-off. Lee Company techs have been using visual findings and other smart technology tools for years to add transparency and virtually take customers along. You see what we see, whether we're in a crawl space or on a roof. With Lee Company, technology helps us help you, no matter what's happening in the world or at your house.
Custom Stone Handler supplies over 600 distributors and suppliers with quality stone products. Along with River Stone, we produce and distribute over 100 building, landscape, and other bulk products. Our goal is to provide quality products, service, and partnerships to ensure our customers' success. We firmly believe that the measure of any person or company is how they treat other people and customers. Give them a call at 931-490-4990 or visit CustomStonehandlers.com.
Piggly Wiggly, located in Neely's Mill Shopping Center, is Columbia's locally owned and operated Cost Plus 10 grocery store dedicated to serving the community with low prices and smiling faces. Piggly Wiggly offers fresh, hand-cut meats daily as well as daily hot plate lunches from their deli counter. You're certain to see smiling faces and a helping hand when you're here at Piggly Wiggly. Come by and check out our fresh produce, high-quality meats, and more. Down home, down the street, we'll see you at the Pig.
Welcome back to hour number 2 of the Monday Mirror edition of Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. That's Wade Neely. I'm Maurice Patton. Let's talk a little college football. Oregon unanimous number 1? I mean, it makes sense because I don't really know who else you would put up there.
Is that what goes down?
I believe that's
I mean,
it goes down.
Taking care of business. They've been interesting to watch because, they had so many struggles at the start of the season, not beating teams comfortably that maybe they should, and, almost lost to Boise State. But they've kind of smoothed things out, and they win games in different ways now. And Gabriel has had a couple of big weeks prior to this week, but then the defense, which doesn't take a lot versus Michigan's offense these days, but the defense does just enough to get them by. So kind of cruising along, and Oregon gets, with every win, obviously, you get more and more closer to, you can stub your toe a time and you're definitely safe at this point. But Oregon, kind of creeping on up there. And then it's maintaining that number 1 ranking, but like you said, unanimous now at the AP poll.
Yeah, they don't look like they're thinking about stub toes at this point.
Yeah, and, they've had some – we talked obviously about the Big Ten schedule. They had to go on a Friday night right after they beat Ohio State out to Purdue, which is not a world beater by any means, but just to travel alone. And then they just roughed up Purdue on the road. had to go out to the big house. Michigan was fired up, a little more spirited effort and some better quarterback play. It gave a little bit of a scare to the Ducks, but they look like in all three phases maybe the most quote-unquote complete team. We don't have a situation where there's a clear-cut, hands-down, I think, best team this year, but they kind of have survived and weathered a lot of storms, and so therefore they kind of have been the best of the best by default almost.
Yeah, we had thought about 3 weeks ago that Texas was that.
Yeah.
And Georgia gave the lie to that. So, I mean, it's almost Oregon by default right now.
Yeah, and betting odds were crazy. I meant to screenshot this and send it in yesterday because Vegas has no clue. Everybody is all jumbled up. Even Oregon as the favorite is right, just barely a favorite. Everybody else is kind of in the mix, and I think that's what's going to make this playoff. I think some years going forward, the playoff will not be as compelling as it is this year. The novelty factor obviously helps with that here in 2024. But for right now, we are streaking toward a season where we don't necessarily know who the best team is. And so that 12-team playoff is going to be pretty wild.
And it's convenient that Boise State is ranked number 12 this week because, I mean, with a group of 5 team in the top 12 of the rankings, it's pretty cut and dried kind of what the field will look like or what the field projects to look like. I think we get our first projected field this week, right?
Yeah,
from the CFP.
Yep, tomorrow night. So and that will be fascinating because I'm looking at your poll here, and Indiana's ranked 8th. They're not going to be 8th when the poll comes out tomorrow, and BYU is probably not going to be 9th when the projections come out. Mm-hmm. And Boise State is in the mix. Army just keeps winning games and remaining undefeated. So that will be the interesting thing. Does the committee put Texas, above a team like Miami, who still sits there undefeated? I mean, in some ways, we're kind of, just spinning our wheels because the conference champs will be who the conference champs are.
Right.
But it'll kind of get it into a little more focus starting tomorrow. And then these last couple of weeks should be really fun toward the finish line.
Yes, folks start kind of jockeying for position, so to speak. I said a few weeks ago that style points don't seem to be a thing in the Southeastern Conference this year. Tennessee 28, Kentucky 18. A lot of folks will tell you that Tennessee didn't win that game like they should have, but I don't know if like they should have is really applicable at this point.
Probably not. Yeah. At the end of the day, the win is obviously the most important thing. And the other thing is, Tennessee still kind of reminds you, this is not the Tennessee team that beat Kent State 71-0, right? I mean, when we get into the nitty-gritty, this is the same Tennessee team that lost on the road at Arkansas. So just winning a game should be obviously paramount, and then you'll deal with the rest later because there are some teams that are going to fall by the wayside. And, the field will get thinner. They'll have a real big test coming up in a couple of weeks when obviously they take on the Bulldogs. So Tennessee just surviving. Yeah, to your point, style points shouldn't really matter and definitely don't matter as much as in years past with the expanded playoff because, yeah, Tennessee probably thought coming into the game, Kentucky, I mean, we both had kind of mentioned on the show Friday, Kentucky seemingly is kind of thrown in the towel here. But you kind of also get the sense that Tennessee still has some things they would like to figure out, particularly on the offensive side of the ball.
Certainly.
And Kentucky's got a really good defense. At the end of the day, whether kids are trying 100% or not, they still got a really, really good defense. And so that's going to keep them in some games that maybe they perhaps otherwise shouldn't be.
Yeah, and Tennessee wasn't really able to – Brock Vandegrift wasn't necessarily successful offensively, but he gave Tennessee some problems, it felt like, in the open field. So as well as Tennessee has played defensively, they still got to kind of shore up some things as well. So stay tuned for that. As you said, big matchup with Georgia coming up. Vanderbilt, bowl eligible.
Man, what a story.
Goes down to Auburn and pretty convincingly really takes care of business. I mean, it's a 17-7 victory, but it never felt like Auburn was Auburn was never comfortable,
Mhm.
obviously, and Vanderbilt just felt like, to me, they just went and took care of business. I mean, they didn't pull away either, but once they got in front, it felt like they were in front.
Yeah, and this reminds me kind of the win a couple of weeks ago when they go to Kentucky. This is the game that lets you know, all right, Vanderbilt, yeah, those playoff aspirations are gone. Any long shot SEC championship game appearances are gone. But these two wins, that one at Kentucky and then this one down at Auburn, kind of proved to me that Vanderbilt is kind of rock solid. You're going to get a really hard game. Obviously, Bama found that out the hard way, and Texas survives a little bit of a scare. So this is an impressive Vanderbilt team that continues. And just when you think maybe, all right, and I was kind of in this same camp heading into last week. I say all that, they got a really, really tough team coming into town this week, but they kind of just continue to prove folks wrong, and they're going to continue to be a fun story. And we're not talking, Music City Bowl at this point. Now you're talking, let's see how high they can maybe climb. They still got some really, really tough opponents. And if they can win somehow, maybe 2 out of 3 versus South Carolina, LSU, or Tennessee, I mean, you're talking Vanderbilt could be, definitely toward the top of those SEC standings at that point.
And currently ranked number 24.
Yeah, get back in the top 25, move up a spot even from where they were 2 weeks ago. So Vanderbilt clawing back in. You can't overestimate them, and that ship has been long gone, I think. But now, not only can you not overestimate them, you really actively have to game plan to beat them. And as well as South Carolina is playing and played, especially this past weekend, they will have a tough game coming into West End on Saturday afternoon.
South Carolina will have a tough game coming into West End, but they kind of serve notice that they might be ready for said tough game after handling Texas A&M in Columbia this past weekend.
Yeah, similar deal, right? Texas A&M, obviously, record-wise, way better than Vanderbilt, but it's so tough to win on the road. And if you kind of want to be taken seriously, and them being taken seriously meant, in terms of SEC championship game, playoff, you got to go on the road and win. And it was always going to be a tough game, as well as South Carolina's defense is this year. But, man, they really kind of poured it on. And, you got Beamer celebrating. I mean, everybody's having a big time because South Carolina, but now we see this every year, but now they're the team that's kind of looking like, man, if 1 or 2 plays had just gone a little bit differently, we'd be right there in the mix talking about the playoff. And they are a dangerous team. They're a tough team. And, yeah, they pulled Texas A&M's pants down in a big way on Saturday.
You are looking at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 teams in the Southeastern Conference with 1 loss, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 more with 2 losses. I'm sorry, 4 more with 2 losses right now.
Going to be a wild log jam. That Texas A&M loss too. I don't know if we got to mention on the show. There was a wild scenario where Georgia and Texas both would have been left out with 1 loss in the conference championship game. But South Carolina took care of that for all intents and purposes this weekend. So I'm still at the camp. I think it's going to play itself out. It's a slog just like it is every year. And the only difference is, instead of wondering who's that 1, maybe 2 teams that get into the college football playoff, now we're wondering, how many, I guess, is the real question of those teams get in.
Yeah, exactly. Georgia and Florida played at Jacksonville. Both of them come out of it with quarterback concerns. DJ Lagway injures his hamstring and has to be carted off. Carson Beck can't seem to throw it to the right team.
No, I don't know what's going on with Beck, but you cannot have picked a worse time to have your worst season at Georgia, because
I just hope the Lambo is paid for.
Hopefully the Lambo is completely paid off, because there might be some folks demanding refunds. He has struggled all season long, and just when you maybe think he's kind of getting it turned around,
he throws another one to Florida.
He throws another, still throwing interceptions to the Gators. That is obvious at that point. Now that's got to be a concern, right? For Georgia, because you can get by with that versus Florida. But for a team that Doesn't need to be perfect the rest of the year, but needs to be pretty close. Having quarterback concerns from a guy you were really banking on, that has got to be the more troubling situation.
Heisman Trophy candidate Carson Beck, right?
Heisman hopeful once upon a time. Those are bye-bye birdie. And then also, draft stock. I mean, we're talking about, potentially a top 10 pick at one point. And this guy, like I said, I don't know what you can contribute it to because we had such high hopes for this guy. I think a lot of folks really thought he would be one of your top QBs in the country and certainly in the SEC, and he has not been consistent this year for some reason.
Not at all. Their next 2 games are at Ole Miss and against Tennessee.
Yeah, they have a tough schedule, and without Beck playing well, it's not inconceivable they drop at least one of those. And if he has the effort like he did against Florida, it's not inconceivable they drop both of those potentially.
Yeah. Out of the Southeastern Conference, we talked about Ohio State and Penn State, and I said that James Franklin has to win one of these eventually, doesn't he? Well,
just not this week.
Maybe he doesn't.
Yeah. Wild game, and Penn State, man, they have really nobody to blame but themselves, obviously, with those issues at the goal line, basically a chance to tie the game, and they come up empty. And so it was 2 locomotives going at each other, and I don't mean Penn State and Ohio State. I meant Dave versus Franklin, who desperately needs to win a game. Dave was, I think, 3-6 all-time versus top 5 teams. Franklin with a little bit worse record. He just played a few more opponents. And Ohio State outlasts Penn State. And that is Penn State's still in pretty good shape, all things considered. But just for resume purposes, not even for the team, but for Franklin, he would have really liked to get that one. And so that is a tough one for the Nittany Lions to drop at home. But they're still going to be in pretty good shape, like I said. But now the seat just gets even hotter if they somehow go sideways and either lose. They're projected to have one of those home games in the first round of the playoffs. If somehow you lose at home, the seat gets hotter, or if things really get crazy in the last couple of weeks of the regular season and you miss the playoff.
Don't they play Indiana?
Ooh, put me on the spot. I know Indiana's got Ohio State, and I think that might be it.
Oh, really? Okay. Well,
we can remedy that here in about 10 seconds.
That's probably a good thing for Penn State.
Penn State. Yeah, that's Indiana, they got Michigan this week, they got Ohio State next week, and then Purdue. That's the only real knock on them is their schedule of all the Big Ten teams has been the easiest by far. Yeah. But at some point, you just keep winning games. But yeah, Penn State and Indiana would have been a fun, throw that in there the final week of the regular season. Don't give me Purdue and Indiana, the old Oak and Bucket. We can throw that one out. We don't need that anymore. I would like to see Indiana and Penn State go toe-to-toe for a knockout game for the playoffs. That'd be real fun.
A playoff game. And, Franklin going at it with a student coming off the field after the game doesn't help things any either. Indiana continues to roll, man. 47-10 over Michigan State.
Yeah, they were one of only 2 teams that had not trailed all season, and then they get down 10-0 to Sparty, and then run wild. Army's the only other team in the country that has not trailed at any point this season, so Indiana has to give that distinction up. But, yeah, they absolutely ran wild on Sparty after falling behind 10-0 early. Rourke had 4 or 5 touchdown passes. He's back. They missed him They missed him the week before, and so now he's back and he's balling again.
Louisville knocks off Clemson.
Felt like Clemson was due. Man, they had been sneaking around the chicken coop, and maybe everybody's kind of coming back around on them, and then boom, Louisville. We mentioned on the show Friday they're a good team. And Clemson stubs its toe at home, which, opens the door big time now for Miami as far as the potential road into the playoffs.
Yeah. And the road closed for a Big 12 team as Texas Tech knocked off Iowa State.
Yeah, Iowa State now, they no longer control their own destiny. They have to really hope that they can catch some good fortune, get into the title game, and then win because Texas Tech, who was leading that league early in the season, kind of plays itself back into contention, knocks them out. So, and the other crazy thing is if Baylor has somehow risen from the dead and also Colorado is back in the mix. So the Big 12, it still feels like BYU is going to take a loss at some point. Maybe I'm wrong. And if they do, it's going to be real wild to watch that league, how it kind of unfolds.
No doubt. Let's take a break here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. When we return to the Lee Company studios here at the Murphy Center, we will be joined by MTSU men's basketball coach Nick McDevitt, who just an hour and a half ago opened their season with a big win over Oglethorpe right here on this very floor. We'll talk about it when we come back.
Hi, I'm Riley, a certified physician associate here at Premier Foot and Ankle Centers of Tennessee. We have a couple locations, Murfreesboro, McMinnville, as well as Franklin. We treat people of all ages. We're excited to get you back on your feet and hope we can help you today.
Call us today to schedule an appointment. We look forward to seeing you.
Because here at Premier Foot and Ankle, we believe that
the journey begins with happy feet.
He shoots, and he scores!
Whether you're an athlete or a weekend warrior, when it comes to your performance, don't settle for anything less than excellence. We're proud to announce that Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint Clinic is now Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia, where we are redefining sports medicine and orthopedics. Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance's team of expert sports medicine physicians understands the unique demands of your body. TOA Columbia specializes in personalized orthopedic care, offering state-of-the-art treatments for everything from sports injuries to joint replacements. Learn more at toacolumbia.com.
With Lee Company technology, the best handymen are hands-off. Lee Company techs have been using visual findings and other smart technology tools for years to add transparency and virtually take customers along. You see what we see, whether we're in a crawl space or on a roof. With Lee Company, technology helps us help you, no matter what's happening in the world or at your house.
Jones & Lang Sporting Goods here in Columbia has been outfitting teams, officials, and anybody else from T-ball to college for 50 plus years. Be sure and check them out at 931-388-8060 or online at jonesandlang.com. Jones & Lang Sporting Goods, the look of a winner.
Zion Christian Academy, zioneagles.org or 931-388-5731. You can schedule your appointment. Go tour their campus. It is beautiful over there, and you're definitely going to want to see it. Again, it's zioneagles.org. Give them a call, 931-388-5731, and schedule your tour today.
Piggly Wiggly, located in Neely's Mill Shopping Center, is Columbia's locally owned and operated Cost Plus 10 grocery store dedicated to serving the community with low prices and smiling faces. Piggly Wiggly offers fresh, hand-cut meats daily, as well as daily hot plate lunches from their deli counter. You're certain to see smiling faces and a helping hand when you're here at Piggly Wiggly. Come by and check out our fresh produce, high-quality meats, and more. Down home, down the street, we'll see you at the Pig.
We're back in the Lee Company studio that is Murphy Center here on the campus of Middle Tennessee State University. This is Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. That's the birthday boy, Wade Neely. I'm Maurice Patton, and we are joined now by Blue Raider men's basketball coach Nick McDevitt. Again, MTSU opened the season with a 97-51 win over Division III Oglethorpe in front of a bunch of screaming kids earlier today. It was an 11 o'clock tip, and you had the Rutherford County Schools elementary kids in the house. And Nick, did you have your earplugs in?
I didn't. I didn't.
Do you wish you had your earplugs in?
If we could only use these right here to communicate with each other on the bench, and somehow have some kind of like the football with the helmet, and be able to relay our plays in electronically. We would have definitely done that today. But it was great, man. It was the energy that those young people brought to the arena, even an hour and a half before tip. I mean, they were loud and enjoying themselves, and certainly our players fed off of it. We got off to a good start and had a good morning.
Yeah, you did get off to a good start. I think I looked up at one point and it was like 35-6 or something like that. Two things that kind of struck me, just wasn't necessarily keeping up because I was multitasking, but it felt like y'all shot the three ball pretty well, and it felt like y'all rebounded the snot out of the ball.
Yeah, we did both. We ended up with plus 20 on the glass, 50 rebounds to 30. Obviously we came into the game knowing that we would have a size advantage and an athleticism advantage, and it was just important that our energy allowed us to take advantage of that. And I thought we did. I didn't think we were dead on either end of the floor with our pace of play, trying to be disruptive. Otherwise, it doesn't do you any good to be bigger and more athletic. You've got to play that way. That's right. You've got to use it. And I thought we were doing that, and got out to a good lead. I thought we took our foot off the gas a little bit towards about the 4 or 5 minute mark of the first half. Came out a little lethargic, kind of traded baskets for about an 8 to 10 minute stretch if you go over both halves. But once, about the 16-minute mark of the second half, I thought we turned it up again. And again, I thought a lot of guys had good days. Anytime you get two guys with double-doubles, Esau Mustafa, his 40th career double-double. Torrey Austin gets his first in his first ever college game. So it was good to see that. And, I just thought our shot selection and the balance of our scoring was there. And hopefully we can keep that up.
Yeah, by all accounts, a great way to start the season. And you kind of touched on those two guys. Minutes-wise and rotation-wise, did you get everything out of today maybe that you had hoped, or do you already kind of, have some things on the whiteboard ready for later this week?
A little bit of both.
Okay. All right.
We did get, kind of what we wanted out of getting some guys out there. Obviously we mentioned Torrey had a good game, but just getting your feet wet and being in front of the crowd is different than close scrimmages. Last year he redshirted, and he's been good in our close scrimmages. But just to get out here and just get that game experience is important. I thought, some of our newcomers showed what they're capable of doing. We definitely are looking forward to having Jalen counter to the point where he's not really on a pitch count. Today was on a minute count. And really the first day that both he and Cam Weston have both been available. We had a scrimmage against UT Martin and a scrimmage against East Tennessee State, and one missed one and one missed the other one. And so having that guard rotation between those two and Justin Porter is going to be really good for us this year. JP had to learn how to play some point and be more of a playmaker last year once Cam went down. Cam obviously is a natural point. Jalen Counter a natural point. And once all those guys are healthy and out there together, it just gives us a combination of guys and a rotation to where we can always keep a playmaking, if not two playmaking guards on the floor at all times.
Some good options.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's what you want.
Yeah.
That way you can soak things up. A guy having a bad day, a guy with a turned ankle, sick, foul trouble, not playing well. You just don't want to be in a box to where all of a sudden somebody's having to push through ailments or sickness, and there isn't anybody else over there on the bench to put in the game. You definitely want to have options, and fortunately this year right now, if we can stay healthy, we've got good options.
How did that UT Martin scrimmage go for Christian Fussell? Had a lot of familiarity,
yeah,
right?
He actually he played because of the coaching change. There were some obviously new coaches there at Martin, but also some new players. But obviously, when you spend several years here and then go there were trainers and strength coaches and managers that and a couple of players that he certainly spent some time with last year when he was at Martin. So it was neat to see. Christian Fussell is just he's a good person, man. Like, our guys really like being around him. He's good in the locker room. He brings good energy every day. So there was no surprise when we scrimmaged those guys, and they had nothing but, hugs and handshakes and all that for him when they came over here.
I don't remember if it was you that we were talking to or if it was somebody else about the situation. But again, he starts his collegiate career here. He transfers to UT Martin. He comes back, and I think the conversation I had with somebody is, what is that conversation like? What is that phone call like?
We actually, once he put his name in the portal, we ended up after a while reaching out to him and to see, is this something that you're interested in doing? But also being honest and kind of painting the picture for what we thought this would be when he came back. He's again such a good person, and we just felt like bringing him back here with what he would bring to our locker room. And he's experienced, but he's experienced with us. You didn't have to tell him where to go get something to eat. He knows his way around
Well,
town.
and he's got more options here than he does in Martin, too.
And that's the thing that was so great. I mean, you not only see it with our team, but some of the other sports here, whether it's women's basketball, football. You got a couple that, Courtney Blakely goes out to Arizona. Now she's back playing for Rick. They'll be playing tonight against Northern Kentucky. But yeah, just sometimes you don't realize how good you got it until something's taken away. And I think the really neat thing is that Christian realizes that this is where he wanted to be, and he's to add that kind of experience and what he brings to the table was something we were looking for, and he pulled the trigger and came back.
It's certainly an interesting situation, but it sounds like it's working well for everybody, right?
Absolutely. I mean, he's going to end up getting his degree from here, and after playing days, obviously, I think he'd like to give pro ball a shot in some form or fashion, but thinks he wants to maybe get into coaching, and so just trying to help him along his path in basketball, and he's going to be a big part of what we do this year, and sometimes being a big part of something. And I'm not saying he's not going to play. That's not what I'm saying, but everybody that's a part of your organization, a part of your program's got a role that's really important. And what he brings to the table in terms of just knowing what a scout looks like, how to prepare for a big game on the road, that's good for younger players to see. Chris Loof is continuing to blossom into being a really good player, really good center for us, but he's also a true sophomore. Christian Fussel's in his 5th year of college basketball. And so just he is the best talker every day in practice. If you could close your eyes and listen to Christian Fussell talk through a defensive possession, and you could almost envision what was going on the floor because of his talk. And it's that kind of stuff that younger players need to see and hear and listen to continue to grow their game.
Nick McDevitt, men's basketball coach here at Middle Tennessee State, joining us on Main Street Sports today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. You mentioned Isam, 14-10 in his Blue Raider debut after previously being at Texas Christian and at Coastal Carolina before that. 1, nice introduction for him. 2, he's one of 3 different guys that you've got that this is their 3rd stop.
Maybe more than that, to be honest.
At least 3.
Yeah, I mean,
4-year stop.
That's right. Sure. Kamari Lands, his 3rd. Isam, his 3rd.
Jacob, his 3rd.
Alec Oglesby has been to this may be his 4th. So it just is the current landscape of college basketball. And the good thing is for some older guys, they've been coached hard. They've got war wounds and warts from having been in the thick of it, and that's what you need in our opinion in Conference USA in this league in order to be one of the top tier teams is older guys, experienced guys. You can be young in some leagues around the country. This typically has not been one of them. If you look year in and year out, the teams that are playing in that tournament finals, getting to the NCAA tournament, they're the older, more experienced teams. And that was our goal in recruiting in the spring. And as a result, we got an old group.
Talking to the guy that usually sits right over there, Chip Walters, he was saying that this is probably one of the deeper teams that you have had this since you've been here, and that's a good thing, I would think.
Absolutely, absolutely. Like I said, you want to have options, and right now you think about our backcourt with the three that we already mentioned in Cam, Jalen Counter, and Justin Porter, but Alec Oglesby is the best shooter on our team, and should be cleared in the next couple of weeks. He's a career 40% 3-point shooter in college. And so anytime you can put a 40% 3-point shooter on the floor, that's a good thing. And with those guys, you're just talking about your backcourt players. You saw Torrey Austin, Kamari Lance, Justin Buford, Jacob Johnson all on the as forwards today. And then we just talked about kind of that three-headed monster at center. And so now all of a sudden you're mentioning 10 or 11 players that we think can be solid contributors for us night in and night out.
I would think that there is a degree of excitement around former Lebanon standout Jared Hall, who transferred in here after spending his first year out at Tulsa. He got 7 minutes today, all in the second half. I'm not into questioning anybody's personnel decisions, but can you just walk us through 7 minutes for Jared Hall?
Sure. Jared is one of those guys and this is not a knock at Tulsa or their coaches, because Eric Kunkel's a terrific coach and a good buddy of mine. He's just one of those guys that you just wonder where would he be had he been here last year for a year, just like Torrey Austin. Torrey Austin this time a year ago, we felt like we needed to redshirt him because he just wasn't ready to contribute in a college basketball game.
Mm-hmm.
And 12 months later, just learning how we need him to play our system, he was able to perform at a very high level today. Same thing with Jared Hall. Is just sometimes coaching style and what you're asking me to do is very, very different than what I had to do for Coach McDowell at Lebanon High School, and very different than what I had to do last year for Eric Kunkel at Tulsa. Now you're telling me this is called something else. We have terminology for different spots on the floor, how we rotate. And when all of a sudden all that gets changed because of three coaches, three playing styles from high school to Tulsa to here, that's hard. It's just hard. Not only is playing style different, but all of a sudden terminology is different. Plays are different. Style of play is different. And there are other guys that have an advantage over you. Jacob Johnson and Justin Buford and Torrey Austin have been here, and they know all that stuff by the back of their hands. And you got Kamari Lands, who's a former top 100 player coming out of high school and has been at Louisville and Arizona State. So you just think about his position group. He's kind of fighting an uphill battle. I think he'll continue to fight for those minutes, but at the same time, he's battling 4 minutes with guys who have either been here or, like Kamari, is a third-year college basketball player who's a very talented young man.
He's fighting for minutes with Justin Buford, who has been here forever.
That's right. That's right. And we actually have ways that, there are little devices that athletes can wear these days that monitor your workload, how hard you're going. Are you moving from point A to point B with physicality? And they're called exertions. Are you really on the move, or are you just getting kind of sauntering from point A to point B? So it kind of measures how hard you're playing. Man, Jacob Johnson and Justin Buford. Justin Buford is usually first every day out of the guys that are on our team. So all of a sudden, two of the guys that are at your position, they're old. They're old here, to your point about JB's in his 4th year in our program, and man, he plays his tail off. So because of that, and then you see a guy like Torrey Austin who, man, when he's active, he looks like an airplane out on that court.
Yeah, he really does.
Big, long guy with a big wingspan. So Jared Hall's gonna be fine. He's been coached and coached well, and continued to get better here. He looks great. He's really worked hard on his body, gained some strength and weight. He's a guy that's we're excited about his potential.
JB played in his 100th career game here at Middle Tennessee State today.
It's Man, it seems like he just got here, in some ways, and it seems like he's been here for a decade. In another, is 100 games. I mean, that's a lot of ball, and very different when you think about today's environment.
Right,
100 games in one place.
100 games in one place. That's right. And I think that's a testament to Middle Tennessee State. I think it's a testament to Murfreesboro. I think it's a testament to this area that there are players like JB that they don't want to go anywhere else. They love it right here. And Christian Fussell, he was here and went somewhere else. Said, you know what, I'm going back. I want to go back there. I think it speaks a lot to what this area, what this university provides for these young men and young women who are not just the athletes, but the student body, the administrators, the coaches. It's a great place. And Justin Buford has definitely enjoyed his time here, and we got one more year with him, and he's wanting to go out with a bang.
You mentioned kind of walking into when you were describing exertions and tracking and everything. I'm curious. Don't play again until Saturday. This early in the season, what will the rest of today look like for the guys, and then what will the next couple days for you as a program kind of look like?
That's a great question. Tomorrow we're off. We've got you have to give the guys 1 day a week, at least 1 day a week off, and according to NCAA rules. So tomorrow is our off day. Wednesday will be kind of a little bit of a higher day because obviously Thursday and Friday you got to start tapering it back. And so we'll get up and down a little bit, particularly because we didn't have to spike anybody's minutes today. We only had 2 players over 20. So everybody else was really balanced as far as minutes. So we'll get up and down more on Wednesday and then kind of taper it a little bit Thursday and Friday so that we got legs for what should be a tough game on Saturday. Typically, we like to practice here before we hit the road. Obviously, when you're going to places like Abilene Christian or like in league play, UTEP, New Mexico State, up to Liberty, down to FIU, you're traveling on a plane. And when you travel commercially, as we do, sometimes you can run into some delays. And the last thing you want to do is not have practiced in the morning here. You run into a 3 or 4 hour flight delay. And then by the time you land at your destination, it's 7 or 8 o'clock at night and you haven't practiced. And that's not a good spot to be in. So we avoid that often as we can. And it's almost every time. We'll practice here like 8 to 10 in the morning.
Okay.
And then at about 11 o'clock, we'll head up to Nashville, catch a flight, usually around 1:30 or 2 in the afternoon. And we're at our destination by dinner time with already.
Theoretically.
Theoretically. There you go, Maurice.
In a perfect
there you
world.
go. That's right. Theoretically. We are at our destination around dinner time. Go over the scout before we go to bed.
But if you're not, then at least you got to practice.
That's exactly it.
And I never thought about that, but that makes perfectly good sense in today's world of travel.
That's correct. And the way Conference USA is spread out, there's a couple now with obviously Jacksonville State and Kennesaw, Western Kentucky in the league that are drivable. But when you start thinking about Liberty and FIU and La Tech, Sam Houston, UTEP, New Mexico State, you don't want to be driving to Las Cruces.
What's your worst trip?
The longest one has been UTEP, but with over the last couple of last year and what will be over the next couple of years, the addition of New Mexico State has made that obviously a little easier of a trip. It's a long way to get out there, but when you're there, you got 2 games.
Right.
You play one of them on Thursday, and it's only about 45 minutes or an hour bus ride to the other. And so us in Western Kentucky last year, we switched spots the night after the game. And so you're at the next place on the Thursday night after you played the other opponent. So when you wake up Friday morning, you're already at your next destination. And so we'll do that again, obviously with UTEP going to the Mountain West. That can make that New Mexico State brutal soon enough.
Solo trip, man.
A solo trip to go to New Mexico for a conference game.
You notice I asked him worse, and he answered longest, right?
You
notice that? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Just wanted to make sure.
That was well played.
Nick McDevitt, men's basketball coach here at Middle Tennessee State, joining us on Main Street Sports today. One question I want to ask you before you get out, because you guys go to Abilene on Saturday, then you've got home games here November 13th against Evansville and November 16th against Murray State. And there are people of a certain age that will really want you to win that game against the Racers.
No question.
It
is
a lot.
Well, it's also the opponent that we have played the most. Middle Tennessee basketball has played Murray State more than any other opponent. And so, when you followed each other in the OVC and, you're a 2.5 hour ride away from each other, there's been some great battles in both places, some terrific players. Coaches have come through both programs. And so that's a fun one. That is a fun one. And it's usually a good one.
Yeah, typically. How much do you have to temper today's game with the fact that was a Division III opponent?
I think it's important that your players play the game the correct way and not, take your opponent lightly, or when you do get a lead, start messing around. Because sometimes, like, you can have a big lead like that at the 10, 12, 14-minute mark, and now you just play recklessly, and it's worse for you than it was a benefit, because you're enforcing bad habits, because you may be able to get away with some things in that kind of game just because you're bigger and taller and more athletic that aren't going to work against Murray State. And so you've got to make sure that, yes, we're ahead. It looks like the game's in hand, but we've got to do things here today that will work against Evansville and Murray State. More importantly, this coming Saturday against Abilene Christian, you can't just start messing around. And I thought our guys did that. We went over several things or several results over the last 3 or 4 days where some non-Division I schools had either beaten or came really close to some Division I teams, and won really close to a Power 4 victory. And so you just can't take those guys lightly.
Don't be that guy. Right?
Yeah, don't be. And we told our players, like, there's some of those guys out there today. You saw that he's pretty good. He's just he's 6'5", 6'6" center. If he was 6'9" or 6'10", he may not be playing there. They've got a couple little guards that he's pretty good. He's just 5'10" and not all that athletic. If he was 6'3", he may be wearing a different jersey. It's not because he's not a good basketball player. He just may lack a little athleticism that's in our room, or a little bit of size that's in our room. But if we can't make it a horse competition, if you're just getting into a shooting competition, they got some guys on their team that can shoot the ball. And that's the way a lot of places around the country. There's so many guys now around the world that play. I mean, the game of basketball has gone global. And so there's so many players out there. They're good players at a lot of places. That's just the way it is. So you've got to make sure that you're respecting your opponent. And I thought our guys did a good job of that today. I'll say this, their coach has done a really good job down there for a long time. It's like his 22nd or 23rd year in that program. They're picked to finish second in their league this year. And so I think our players did a nice job of respecting who they were.
Nick McDevitt, men's basketball coach here at Middle Tennessee State, joining us on Main Street Sports today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. Nick, thank you so much.
Yes, sir. Thanks for having me. Thank y'all.
When we come back, it'll be the final segment of the show. It'll be the grab bag. Stay tuned when we return to the Lee Company studios after this.
So, you want to be a part of the Busy Bee team, huh? Well, how do you see yourself fitting into the organization? Oh, I get it. You want to be a weather bee.
This holiday season, the largest lantern festival in the country returns to Nashville Zoo. Experience more than 1,000 all-new, handcrafted lanterns, towering creatures, magical worlds, and a North Pole village. At the center of it all, the Smashville Ice Rink. Welcome back to Zoolumination at Nashville Zoo. Bigger, brighter, and better than ever.
Thanks, Nick. Hey, it's the final segment of the Monday Mirror edition of Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. Again, that's the birthday boy. Do I dare ask how many birthdays this is?
Too many birthdays,
listen,
brother.
you,
They're racking up.
It's 20 fewer than me. So
Whew, it is. But it's been fun. Got to see MTSU get a win. We got to do the show here from campus.
Always
got
great
to talk
to
to
be on
Chris. Got
campus.
to talk to Coach just now. Things are good.
It's been a good day for a Monday.
Yeah, and I'm optimistic. So you start on if you got the birthday on a Monday. Yeah, you're starting off kind of on a high note, but you get the Monday out of the way. Now the rest of the week, you kind of downhill. You got college football. We got Maction cranking up tomorrow. We'll get some NFL tonight, and then high school playoffs cranking back up on Friday. So should be a good week, hopefully, for us.
Absolutely. We got Monday Night Football tonight. Like you said, Tampa Bay is at Kansas City. This game has kind of lost a little of its luster here in the last little bit because Tampa Bay has kind of dropped off. But the Buccaneers coming in at 4-4, Kansas City 7-0. Somebody's trying to beat them.
Yeah.
See how that goes.
Tampa Bay has played well. And yeah, a couple weeks ago on Monday Night Football when they had those injuries late to Evans and to Godwin, you're wondering, where they kind of go. But they have been, despite falling off a little bit, a very pleasant surprise in that NFC South. So I think it'll be a fun game tonight. Kansas City's obviously kind of must-see TV because you kind of get the feeling that as Kansas City's kind of been scraping wins by, one of two things. Either number one, that means they're primed to kind of stub their toe at some point, or it'll be interesting to see if they start fine-tuning things. Be curious to see what sort of role Hopkins maybe plays tonight.
Yeah. We mentioned college basketball starting up today. Again, Gardner-Webb goes to Tennessee in a couple of hours, and Maryland Eastern Shore is at Vanderbilt at 7. So a couple of other games to keep an eye on here locally.
And I think Gonzaga and Baylor both played tonight. Big game. You're only top 25 versus top 25. Got to stay up late for it, but it could be a good one.
What time is it?
We're still scrolling.
Is it at Gonzaga?
Yeah, it's in Spokane. So you got to stay up till 10:30 for that one, but it'll be a good one on ESPN2. Texas, Ohio State, we talked about last week. They're playing out in Vegas. That'll be fun. And then you mentioned Tennessee. Obviously, you mentioned Vanderbilt, but then also, the Pope will make his debut tonight for Kentucky too. So,
and probably the biggest or the most high-powered matchup besides Texas, Ohio State. What is it? Missouri goes to Memphis?
Yeah. I don't know if that's tonight or if that's tomorrow, but that's definitely in the next 48. And if it is, that's going to be a big one because Missouri, we broke down last week that they can't lose every game in the league again. And tonight will be kind of a test, or tomorrow will be kind of a test to see kind of where they sit in the pecking order. And Memphis played in Huntsville just a couple of nights ago versus Alabama and gave them a pretty decent little showing, kind of a little bit of a scare. So that'll be fun to see how the Penny carnival, if you will, kind of continues to bounce around this year.
The Penny experience.
Yeah, 7 p.m. on ESPN Plus tonight. Missouri and Memphis should be a pretty fun one.
That is tonight
on the FedEx Forum.
Okay. Braves pitcher Chris Sale received an award yesterday or last night. It's not the one that we're anticipating the most, but he is the National League Gold Glove Award winner for pitchers. It's his first, I believe. So kind of, again, the appetizer for that Cy Young that has got to be coming his way. Again, his first career Gold Glove. Other Braves pitchers previously include Phil Niekro, Mike Hampton, Max Fried, and Greg Maddux on multiple occasions. But he's also the reigning Triple Crown winner, having led the National League in wins, strikeouts, and ERA this past season. He was the only Brave to win a Gold Glove. Matt Olson was up for it at first base, but Christian Walker of the D-backs was your National League winner there. Couple of Brewers, Bryce Terang at second base and Sal Frelick in right field, both former Nashville Sounds. winning Gold Gloves. So congratulations to those guys, man. Ex-Nashville Sounds cashing in. Let's see. From the American League, I'm scrolling. Oh, Alex Bregman got his first Gold Glove for the Astros.
And maybe his last in Houston too. So
possibly his last.
First time in, last time out type situation. Kudos to him.
Yeah. So, more baseball news as Atlanta declined the 2025 option on reliever Luke Jackson and catcher Travis d'Arnaud. D'Arnaud's option was for $8 million for 2025, and you got to wonder, do they feel like they can bring him back for less, or are they getting ready to go in another direction? I mean, we've talked a lot about Drake Baldwin on this show, the kind of the phenom down at AAA Gwinnett, and maybe he's ready to come up and split time with Sean Murphy, as d'Arnaud has done for the past 3 years or so, a couple of years, I guess, since Murphy came over. But that'll be something to keep an eye on here over the off season. And with the money that is being saved by not exercising the option on d'Arnaud, where's that money going to go?
Yeah, that's my immediate question is, is this a move to maybe bring them back on a different deal? Or do they got, bigger plans or different plans, I guess, kind of set to unfold perhaps?
Absolutely. So that'll be something to keep an eye on. Preds back on the ice tonight. We mentioned during the rundown, they take on the visiting Los Angeles Kings. The Preds have picked up points in 5 of their last 6 outings now after that 0-5 start. So on a little bit of a roll. 1-5-2 against Colorado on Saturday. The only bigger win in terms of margin was their 4-0 win over the Bruins in their first win of the season.
Yeah, another tough opponent coming in. It seems like they've had a really difficult in terms of opponents' part of their schedule here. And so that, maybe another reason they have dropped, down to the bottom in terms of the Western Conference standings. But that's only because they're a couple games back. A couple teams have already played a few more than them. So a chance tonight versus the Kings, who are, a dangerous team. We've seen them give Nashville some fits over the years. So a chance to kind of continue in the right direction. You'd love to obviously see those guys take care of business tonight, especially obviously playing at home.
Finally, we've talked about the 7 coaching changes in the WNBA. The Fever hired Stephanie White. We talked about that late last week. The Sky has named former Las Vegas Aces assistant Tyler Marsh as their new head coach. He will replace Teresa Witherspoon in that position. And so we've seen 2 Aces assistants get new gigs, as the Golden State Valkyries also named an Aces assistant to be their founding coach. So you can't argue with the lineage, I don't guess.
No, yeah, coming from a good program, coming from a good pedigree. Chicago was right there at the very end, battling for a playoff berth. So for some reason, they decided to make the change, but bringing in somebody with a winning record, maybe trying to guide them in the right direction. Next steps will be big for them. We'll see how it pans out, but on paper, at least, seems like a good hire.
Marsh was on the Aces staff for both their championships, spent some time in the NBA and in the G League as well. So, got to like that hire. That's going to do it here for the Monday Mirror edition of Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. Be sure and join us tomorrow at 2 o'clock. We'll see y'all then.